obviously disappointed in a loss. You're never satisfied, unless you win. Proud of the way they played, proud of the way they came into a good environment and settled down and executed. And at times we didn't execute as well as we needed to. That was certainly in the second and early third quarter. Into the first quarter and all of the second quarter. Thought we came out well in the early part of the third quarter to drive and score and a stop and a punt. But we've got a lot of other things we've got to focus on to get better. But pleased with the way the guys came in and competed against a really good football team.
Questions?
Coach, the 2-minute drive there right before the half, talk about not being able to get that stop going into halftime and then putting 7 more on the board.
I'm sorry, there's like 9,000
That's
things
okay.
happening.
Talk a little bit about the drive, the 2-minute drive that Auburn had right before the half that scored, where they were able to score 7 more points right before the half, and how pivotal that was going into halftime.
Yeah, it's huge. When you can score going into halftime, you're going to obviously gain momentum. And I thought they gained a little momentum going into half, and so our job was to make sure that we come out offensively and go get something, try to answer the score, just try to answer the bell there. But that's a big deal. It's always a big the last 4 and the first 4. People talk about that all the time in football. The last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 of the third quarter. Those are big in terms of momentum. And thought what we lost, we came and got back in the third quarter. We just got back down there again and didn't convert. We needed to convert in that situation there in the third.
Bishop made a couple mistakes, but it seemed like he held up pretty well for the most part.
I thought he played great. There's a tip ball intercepted. We probably need to catch that. We're leaving the pocket. We got to put the ball away. There's going to be some missed throws here. I've played it long enough to know you're not going to be perfect physically. You're going to miss a guy high or miss a guy low. That's normal, as long as it's not over the top and consistently inaccurate. But I thought he hung in there, did well, handled the rush. The last drive there that we didn't convert on. I mean, hell, he moved us down the field with his legs. It was all scrambles. So I'm very proud of the way he played. It's a tough physical ball game for him. I think he's going to continue to improve.
I think they had really one explosive play, the first touchdown. Other than that, it was kind of chunk yards, maybe just defensively overall. What you say?
That was, that was what Will and I talked about. Is just, listen, if these guys go down the field on a 9-13 play drive and they score 7, then make them earn it. But what I don't want is these 2 and 3 and 4 play Baylor drives, where they're just lighting up the scoreboard. And next thing you know, there's 6 minutes out of the first quarter, it's 21 bump. We need to make them earn it. So we got to do a great job with guys like Singleton and Cam, and 11 can take off and run the ball. And so I thought we did a good job of staying on top of things, keeping things in front of us. Did a good job of tackling. There was a few times we didn't fit the gap well, and 23 shot out of there like a cannon, but for the most part, he had to find his holes. And that's what you got to do against a team that's going to tempo and be explosive. Is you got to match their tempo and just make them earn it. Just nothing free.
Special teams, a couple missed extra points there. Talk about being able to clean that up as the third phase of the game also.
Yeah, we have one penalty, on a punt return where our guy was just blocking and being aggressive by the sideline. Sometimes you're right by the sideline, you don't know if a guy's out or not. I don't think it was, malintent or anything like that. He was just being physical and trying and hustling. And then, he just missed two extra points. I love Hamilton. Hamilton's a great kicker. I have all the confidence and faith in him in the world. You don't accept, negative performances and things like that. But you have to have an understanding as a coach, when a field goal kicker misses, you got to get them right back as best you can mentally. It does no good to holler and scream at a kid at that point. Same thing with Bishop, and it's the same thing with a quarterback. You miss a throw high, what are you going to do? Yell at him, tell him throw it lower? It's not going to fix anything. So, you have to understand that you're dealing with, in the middle of a bout, you're dealing with the mentality of a fighter. And sometimes just how you talk to them and get them through that to the next week is more important.
You guys went to LSU last year, and the game was pretty much over from the first couple of plays. That wasn't the case today. Do you take anything from that?
I guess, I think so. I'm going to try to take something away from it. I think the thing that I'm going to take away from it is the guys that were there last year were a little bit more prepared to go into this environment, as opposed to playing in Tennessee at 21, doing nothing at 22, nothing at 23, and then seeing LSU at 24. And, I'm a former Big 12 guy, but you can't compare Stillwater to Baton Rouge and Auburn. So I think those are some raucous crowds, and I think the guys responded. The ones that were older could kind of help them learn, and I think it's important when you go down and you answer a score. When somebody goes down and scores 7, and you go down and score 3, it's we're here to play. All right, well, we are too. And I thought that helped set the tone for the game. The defense played with confidence and played smart. They didn't always play great, but I thought they played smart. And what Will did today and tried to keep things in front and not let some of their extremely explosive players get off and be extremely explosive.
Coach, from an injury standpoint, I know last week you had sustained some injuries in your secondary, and your linebacking core, talk about their health and moving forward the next week as well.
Yeah, we had a couple guys, we had 3 on defense that were hindered to play, could play, couldn't play, kind of up and down. And, when you get to the Thursday part of practice and they haven't been practicing a whole lot, that in many cases, that's unfair to the kid. They always want to play, just so you know, they always want to play, and they'll always want to play regardless of whether they're prepared or not, or good. They always want to play. And so on Friday, when you haven't practiced a whole lot, we're not going to put you out there. Regardless of how you feel on Friday, you have to put the work in and know what to do. So those 3 or 4 guys on defense, I'm hoping will be available this week as we go into conference play.
Just going into conference play, where do you feel like you guys are at?
I feel like we're in a spot where we kind of know what we need to certainly work on, the base fundamentals and kind of who our playmakers may be and who are some guys that we can trust in some situations. We played, 3 different types of ball clubs with different schemes and different talent levels. And I think we kind of see how our guys stack up against some of those levels and who can make plays in those scenarios and who's a liability and all those things. So I feel like we've got a good handle on who we can be. We just need to work really hard to go do it. What you can happen is you can get out of games like this and think we're really close to playing a really good team. Now we get to play other people that aren't as good as Auburn. Bowl. There's other teams in our league that can do exactly what we just did. So there is no easing up or the competition is now that we're not playing an SEC. Bullshit. No, they're all good. Everybody has scholarships. You better be ready every Saturday. So, I am pleased with where we're at. I don't like 1 and 2, but I like the way we played in the second half and the style of play that we're getting.
Jeremy Scott seems like a guy that's really coming on, making plays, had a touchdown. They had a couple of good catches last week. What do you see, I think?
He's going to continue to get better as he gets more playing experience. Him, Jeremiah Thomas, Brendan Jenkins, Micah Woods, all those guys are adding to that wide receiver room where we lost Sandrum, we lost Ivory, we lost Webb, and we lost Pritchett. And so those 4 guys have got to fill the shoes of those 4 guys who took 2 years worth of snaps. So, we're really young. Not an excuse because I think we still got talent, but we're just play experience. So I think you're starting to see some people get their feet underneath them like Jeremy.
Anything else? Thank you,
All right,
Coach.
thank y'all. Y'all be safe.
Thanks for Wesley.
Wesley, I know you guys gave it more points than you like to, but what did you take from today? How you guys played defensively?
I feel like we still got to improve on tackling. Just all the communication things, all the small things, and I feel like we're moving in the right direction though. So.
Yeah, you gave it 3 points in the second half. How does that make you feel going forward?
Perfect, because I don't look at anybody like tier. They SEC, but what does it matter? I just feel like we just gotta keep improving and keep working.
How important is the next week? Open up conference play at home, obviously a big one. I know it's tough to look ahead so quickly, but how ready are we to get ready for Coastal?
I feel like every game is important. I'm just ready to move on next week. This is over now.
Their quarterback running the ball, obviously pretty tough. What did you see when he kind of got loose?
Nothing normal, just regular guy. Nothing.
Wesley, what was the message at halftime to you guys defensively after giving up that 2-minute score?
Keep playing hard. He basically told us keep playing hard, keep tackling, run our feet, keep communicating, etc.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Wesley.
Yep.
Thanks, Wesley.
I've got wide receiver Devin Boyson. Questions for Devin?
Devin, what do you take away from this?
I thought, just like Major told us, and after the game, thought we played a good first quarter. Second and third quarter, we kind of had a little lull, and against a team like this, that can't happen. But I thought in the fourth quarter, it showed, just like last week, it showed us what kind of team we can be if we can keep it 4 quarters.
On your touchdown reception, talk about what you were able to do or what kind of route was running for you to get into the box.
Yeah, so that's an option route. We go in motion, to see what kind of coverage it is, and we saw it was man to man, and it's pretty much just like me versus him. Doesn't matter what jersey he's wearing, where he's from. Doesn't matter. It's just me versus him, and just how to win.
You're getting used to being in the end zone, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a good feeling. Missing that last 2 years, it's a good feeling to get back in there.
What's the way Bishop played in a tough environment? First real, tough road environment maybe he's played.
Yeah, no. Bishop, he showed a lot of good things today. There's a few things we got to clean up, but I thought, he always shows poise. He's never head down, none of that. So, I think once we get, as a whole team and as a whole offense, the ball rolling in the right direction, I think we can dominate.
Going into conference play, how you feel about the overall?
Just like I said, just even like last week, finishing the game, like how we did, and finishing the game in this fourth quarter. I thought we won the fourth quarter. That just keeps us, gets the momentum going. And so, going into conference play next week, just building off of what we did against, ranked opponent.
Anything else? Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.